So today we are out vaping with the Ecoflow 2 battery pack power source. Been doing some hives, getting all these done, doing some quick checks and giving a bit of candy. So we've got some nice clusters here. They're moving enough, that's good for me. I'm going to put a little bit of candy on top of here, close it up, leave them alone, then I'm off. But they haven't filled the last one. Very light, the colonies. I have to watch these like a hawk. This apiary is chestnut land, I call it that, and it is prone to not getting well fed at the end of the year if the ivy flow isn't that great. And that almost certainly seems to be what's happened. So we'll put some candy on here and they'll be fine. You'll notice they're on 7 frames. That's number 1 is a blank. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sorry, 8 frames, yeah, and number 9 and number 10. That's probably where the stores are there and there. That's why there's a beaver cluster maybe more there. But that's what we do here. We'll get some candy on these and leave them alone. I'm using this B Pro candy that I bought ages ago, last year. I'm going to have to come back and feed these again with the syrup, hopefully the week after next, but if we have a bit of a cold spell, at least this will give these something to chew on while I'm not here. So what I do is I invert my feeder and it gives them a passage to access the candy underneath the feeder tray. It's not ideal, but it does the job. And now the bees can access that candy. It might give them a bit of a kickstart. It's only, well, mid-February now, well, early Feb. But if I didn't come to do that now, these bees might be dead by the middle of or early March. So I'm going to have to come back and feed, as I said, but at least I found the problem, at least we can fix it. That's one thing done anyway. I'm kind of really pleased to see this, because even though this is on the floor and it's a disaster, it should have been sorted out like all the others. This colony has done really well, and that one, because they were late requeening, and I thought they were going to fail basically. So despite having not much care, you can see they need food. They're going to get that now. I'm going to give them half a pack of that, and I'll come back and probably start with the pollen sub in a couple of weeks when I come back from being away, and I may give them more than of that in a couple of days when I come past again, but because I'm out all day and I want to be effective while I'm out, I'm going to try and just give them this for now. At least they got something. After seeing the other colony dead over there, I'm like, oh crap. So just got to get things done, but it's good to see this beautiful buckfast colony, exactly how I want to see it over the winter. It's been vaped, and it'll probably be done in another 2 weeks as well when I come back. That's my plan. Exactly what I want to see. Nice white bees coming out the hive. See that colour of the bee? They're all covered in oxalic acid. Nearly done. 2 more to do over there. Then we'll finish, but I'm going around still putting this candy on most of them because they are dry. And this will buy me a bit of time. Wow. Beautiful day, amazing day for doing vaping, absolutely perfect. So I've just finished my vaping. I've done 31 vapes, there's 15 hives, and I did them all twice. Just run through that again. Taking my mask off now. I realise there's no need to have it on, there's no bees here. No matter when you're doing vaping, it's a pretty much of an uncomfortable thing, but in the winter it's actually all right, okay? So, we're now up to 70%, so if you imagine I did 31 vapes on a full charge, now I'm down to 70%. So even if it takes me 15 to 20 minutes to drive to the next apiary and get ready, if I could leave that on charge for half an hour, it will do even the biggest apiary while I'm out and about. So why did I go for the Ecoflow River 2? Well, as I said, if you could hear me before, I'd already bought another Sublimox. This one is my old one. And also in the building I'm building, it was really helpful to have a spare charger. And the great thing about this, it's alternating current if you want it. So we're going to turn that off now. We don't need AC, and it actually uses a bit of electricity if you leave it on while it's charging, but a tiny amount. This Ecoflow system you can get a solar panel for. Obviously you can't use that while you're charging, but if you're out and about and you want to charge something up, everything is built for this. This is kind of the smaller of the bigger models. So this was about, I got this actually at a real bargain for about just over 300 euros. And I know people will say, so that's about 280 pounds, maybe about $400. I don't know. But people will say, oh, you could have just bought the InstaVap and be done with it. Well, I really like InstaVap. I really like a machine. The problem is as well, I don't have the batteries anyway. I've only got one set of Makita batteries that are new, and I'm going to be getting more machinery, more battery powered things soon, and I will stick with Makita. And then when I'm ready to get a InstaVap, hey, let's face it, I actually might get even the latest model, because I know there's other models coming out and they might be even more efficient. So by the time I get mine, it may work even better for me. So that's my reasoning for not getting the InstaVap. I think it's a really good piece of kit, and I think if you're buying a new piece of kit, the Pro Vape and the Sublimox are still good, but you have to have leads, you have to have inverters, you have to have big batteries. If you don't have that capacity, you're better off with an InstaVap anyway, because it's just so much more portable. It's all about treating your colonies quickly, nipping in, vaping them, and then be off again. And that's what makes treating with oxalic acid so important. It does something to them. It doesn't just burn the feet of the mites, and that's why you get the drop. It also a high level that's there constant. So that's the thought on these new oxalic acid strips. A higher level in the colony does seem to suppress the varroa mites, but you have to have your numbers low at the start. If you've got high numbers of mites at the beginning of the season, it's game over. You need to then invest in some treatments like Formic Pro or like Apivar strips, and you need to do that properly. My beekeeping group this year isn't going to be able to sell me Apivar strips. They're not ordering it because they're giving all their members a break from Apivar for 1 year to stop resistance. But I'm tearing my hair out because I get it cheaper from them because they buy it in bulk, and they're not buying it this year. And the reason why they're not buying it is they're afraid of resistance. But I don't have that problem because I cage most of my queens every year in my production hives, as you know. And then later in this, when I make nukes, I use Apivar. I use Apivar for that, Apivar strip. So for me, when I'm making my nukes, I need a quick knockdown of the mites, and it seems to work really well. And those nukes that I use for it go into production hives and have the queens caged the following year in most cases. So you can see that's my IPM, and it works really well for me. And that's why I cage my queens, because I don't have a resistance problem. One works with the other, and I seem to have got it right for now. And I use so little Apivar in respect of my whole number of colonies that's why I think I'm getting good results. Yes, I've lost colonies. Yes, I've got issues. We all have something that we're not good at, or several things that we're not good at in beekeeping. You just got to try and iron them out. And this year, it's going to be more dead outs than usual. I don't think I'm going to call them winter losses. I've got two winter losses here that colonies have died, tiny clusters withered away. That's what I call a winter loss. I don't call starvation a winter loss. I call starvation bad anticipation by the beekeeper, because in most years, I have good colonies and I have plenty of reserve left in the colonies. In the colonies that have died, there's nothing. Absolutely nothing. That either means bad queens or bad forage in the autumn. These were all fed twice. So in that respect as well, all the rest seem to have done really well, but they are light as well. It just so shows that surplus wasn't around last autumn, and because of the completely bone dry spring, we are now having a few colonies that just didn't make it at the moment. That's my point. As well, winter losses aren't just the winter. They're the autumn before. They're right through till the period where your bees start actually bringing in nectar. And that can be, for us, as late as mid-April. But then it can just pour in, and then everything swarms. But we hope it starts end of March, maybe third week of March in most years if it's calm and warm. But they only need a bit, but just to flip that balance while you're feeding. But I'm going to have to feed all these for sure. I'm going to have to come back and give them all some syrup. But it'll be thick syrup, and it'll just be half a litre maybe second, third week of March for sure. And I'm going to try and get a pollen patty on these. It's a very sugary pollen patty I'm mixing up this year. I've got some pollen sub, I've got some proteins, I've got all the stuff I need at home. It's just the time it takes, and man, am I short of time. I'm going away next Tuesday night on the ferry, and I've only just started vaping for the first time, but I will get a lot done today and a lot done tomorrow. So before we go, just have a quick look at this dead out colony here. There's no front door on, my fault. Basically it's starved. We'll have a quick look and you'll see what a tragedy, what a super colony. Basically starvation. Released the queen in the summer. 4 nice solid frames of bees, which would have been 6 frames if there was food in there. Let's try and show you this. It's never easy. This makes me sick, but you know what? This is part of beekeeping, you know. It's only just gone as well. Dead with the heads in their cells. This is the absolute classic. Always try and bang the bees out because they do come out the cells in most cases. I don't know if you know that, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with that frame. It's beautiful. We're not going to melt this colony down. We're just going to give it, I'm going to give it a scrape down this colony, because unless I find brood disease or brood, all I'm seeing is dead bees in cells. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this comb. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's just empty. There's a massive pile of dead bees on the bottom. The bees next door are getting writhed up, but they're all good though. That colony there, no brood at all. One does question if the queen, who should be here somewhere, was actually laying anyway at all, but she may have been in. This may have died literally 2 or 3 weeks ago, or even more, because thinking about it now, because the problem is when it's cold and nothing's happening and there's no one trying to get in the front door. Oh look, a varroa strip. Well, piles and piles of dead bees. Actually, I think this probably died within, as I was saying before I just changed my track, that's probably 3 or 4 weeks ago when we had a bit of a cold snap. No sign of the queen in here. It's not an enormous colony anyway, but you know what? The box is fine. I'm going to give it a quick clean. I'm not going to take it and burn it out. Well, I will if I have time, but at the moment I'm not going to. I'm just going to empty all these dead bees out and then leave it dry. There's just no point in going crazy at this point. I'll either take this home or I will bring a nuke to it and just refill the colony. There's no sign of any brood diseases. There's nothing wrong with this apart from the fact they run out of food. But looking at it, pristine combs, absolutely pristine, no dead brood. I think this is just starvation. I think the queen probably stopped laying well before they actually pop their clogs. So there's nothing sinister at all going on here as far as I can tell. It's just run out of food. And that is my diagnosis. The queens are all caged, and the ones that weren't had apivar. It made a big colony. In fact, they were all queened except all caged except literally 1 or 2 last summer, sorry, at the right time, because this is one of the few apiaries I got right last year. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure the base is ventilated, and it isn't. We've got the tray in it still from where I vaped as well. I did vape this colony as well, so it's had apivar and was treated with oxalic acid. So now I'm going to leave this colony take the treatment out, put all the frames back in for now. They are now empty. They're not going to rot. They're not going to get any worse. It's unlikely wax moth's going to do any damage at all now because it's too cold. Fairly clean of bees. Can use all these frames again. And there's nothing stinking inside the hive. My biggest issue I have is I'm lazy, and sometimes I don't do this as often as I should because I get so angry and I walk off and just throw something in the hedgerow. But I think we're all guilty of that, in disgust at how I'm letting myself down. But by doing that, I'm letting myself down again. And the best thing is to do is just deal with it straight away. So that will now stay sealed. The mouse guard will go on the front. It is, as we say, not the ideal scenario, but it is what it is. Clean it out, protect the rest, move on. There you go, nothing will bother that now. It's got good ventilation, the combs are clean. I will make another assessment of it as and when I start bringing hives, bringing another dead out there, and I start bringing replacements to this apiary, because this is a good apiary for chestnut. As you know, chestnut land. I still got 16 hives here, so I'm quite pleased with that. But that's what you find when you go winter vaping. And in fairness, I didn't give it the work I should have done. I would say at least 2 colonies would probably be hanging in there if I put the mouse guards on at the correct time. And that is always a big bonus for a colony to feel comfortable and less stressed, because if they're stressed, they'll eat more. You've got to do everything you can. All these are now going back to be washed. These are the trays I put under the colonies when I vaped. That's the fairly clean ones there I'm using at the moment. So all in all, extremely successful and eye-opening first vape, first apiary. Very late this year. I should have been doing it in November. We just didn't get there this year. We are now first week of February. But just on my way to leave here to the next apiary, and I just thought I'll just have one more look. Guess what? I hadn't put a roof on, because what it does when I'm feeding, I didn't mention this before, I'm not using a smoker, but the oxalic acid basically confuses the bees so much that what it does, I whip off the feeder that's still on, flip it around, and then I put the candy on top if they need it. But then obviously the bees might be on top of the board because they've come from underneath the board, which was the crown board. So I leave them because it's calm, they all walk in, but I left all the other ones the far side hidden around the corner. I hadn't put that on. It would have lived, but just don't forget, have a last look in your apiary.
So in this case today I've had to bring my truck only down as far as up there. You can see I'd never get through this. My truck is basically useless and it needs to settle and dry. My apiary's up there, but I don't care because I've got everything I need. Got my Ecoflow, got my vaporizing machine, got my oxalic acid, got my sponging foam, and I got the doors to close off the base and some candy. But they're all not good in here.
So I just arrived at this apiary. They're all having a flight, which is brilliant, and the majority are alive. So that end one is dead, but that one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, one dead there, 11, 12, one dead there. So there's 12 alive in an apiary. I thought I'd be lucky to have 6.